Good evening, guys. Gabs here. What's in the Glass Digital Beer Streams. How are you? I hope everything is fine. I hope you're having some good beer with us today. 24th of March. I think, if I'm not wrong, this should be the anniversary or the first big lockdown in the UK. And I was reading before some comments. So his year has been intense. I'm sure all of us have different opinions about it, different experiences, but definitely no one could say that it hasn't been intense. If you haven't met me before, my name is Gabs. I'm trying to be the best beer communicator I can. I'm chatting about beer, doing photos, meeting people, because this and is my passion, is my life, is my career, whatever you want to call it. And you probably see me quite often going live around this time. With Digital Beer Stream, we're going live 4 times per week. It's a digital broadcasting exclusive show or something like that. And what we're trying to do in here is trying to engage, communicate, and really going deep as much as we can and make it funny with some of the best people within the beer, hospitality, and brewing industry. And I've been doing this since last summer. So probably this show is the episode 65, 70, and I'm always having more and more fun because I'm getting better, because I'm more confident, and because I have better questions to ask to our guests. And our guests normally are that kind of people that, are part of the industry as well. Like, we believe that the beer industry is a family, is like a community. We're all very different from each other. We're all doing different things. But the most important thing is we really care about the community to each other. So London especially does have a strong community. We get to know and we get to meet each other quite often. When the time is right, we will be back in pubs, in some of the best pubs, and we will be able to meet us again all together. Can't wait for it. Sarah is one of the people that, unfortunately, I never had the pleasure to drink together with in some of the best beautiful places in London, and I had to wait too long. Then she actually moved out from London, so she now doesn't live in the city of London anymore. She lives in another beautiful city, which is Edinburgh, and she does work for Moonwake Beer, that if you're not exactly aware about, you're right, because the brewery is getting there to be ready to brew and to have a kit. So exciting time. I'm pretty sure you probably know her from previous project of her. So if you can, making sure you are welcoming as much as you do right now, Sarah's here. Hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. As I said, we get to meet each other digitally times, but we never actually, get to cheers for real.
Bet we've been in the same room or probably been introduced and then forgotten about it because it's been too late in the night.
I wouldn't be surprised. Absolutely. Yes.
I bet we have.
And you've been probably working for in the beer industry for I don't know. Tell me pretty much. Do you remember first job?
My first job. Well, I've not actually been in craft beer like very long. I would say probably 2.5, 3 years maybe. Okay. But before that, I was working in a big London pub chain. So it's like, and I joined them pulling pints when I was at university, and then it grew into marketing, and then it grew into craft beer. So it all sort of stemmed from that one point. And then it's a debate whether my degree was worth the time or not, but we'll see. But yeah, so not as long as it might seem. I just seem to have gotten around a fair bit.
Like, as I said before, within the scene, if we want to call it like that, in London and in the rest of the UK, you've been a very active person. People got to meet you in festivals, or because you were helping out or working with other breweries on pubs and projects in general. And before talking about Moonwake, just to have a little reminder of some of the projects that you help out, if you can just remember us.
Yeah, so I was freelance before taking this role. So ever since I got wanted to get into craft beer and wasn't pulling pints, I was freelancing doing marketing for bottle shops, breweries, pubs, and then whenever anybody needed somebody else in their tap room, I was there. So it was just like just sort of here, there, and everywhere. But one of my first clients was like the Dodo Micropub with Lucy, like way over in West London, and I helped her with some events. And we met at International Women's Collab Brew Day at Wildcard, and then I ended up doing a project with Wildcard actually last year in lockdown for their brew that year. Okay. And I've been with Solvay Society the entire time. We've been on a journey together and done the rebrand and everything. And then I've worked with Duration as well. They kept me well stocked up with beers during lockdown. So you're never going to forget that.
Wow. I mean, you mentioned very different brewery from each other, very different projects. I feel almost that all of them that you mentioned does have three things in common, if you can, or at least these few things in common, which is authenticity, independent, and very nice people behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
I'm sure this is what you like when you're working with in a project. You must feel engaged, and you must feel like part of something which is great. This is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite nice. It grew quite organically, and like never really pushed too hard. Like sometimes I'd meet people, and then a year later they're messaging me saying, "Can you help us with something?" And I always said yes. I always said yes. Because freelancing's hard, but it got to a really good place. And even with lockdown, I was still very proud of what I was doing.
I want to talk about that exact point because I'm sure there are other people, then doing freelancing and potentially asking themselves how I can put myself in the position to be visible to such a big amount of breweries and bars and pubs. So please, let's keep that point and let's talk about that later. But first, I want to do a virtual cheers with you because is a as I said, is
I might need a top up.
I'm having this beautiful bomb, which is a double IPA. Sorry, Mama, but I think I really need to for celebrate such a day.
So you're keeping the Scottish theme with fierce beer.
There we go. You see?
Cheers.
So, cheers. Absolutely.
I've got some. I snuck an Allagash out of my stash. Got one when Cloudwater brought them over last year. So it's cherries and Brett and all things good.
Wow.
Because I didn't have time to go to the shop. So I just thought it's a special occasion.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to choose for that specific beer because I know it's delicious. And let me put it in this way. There is someone talking about more breweries in Leith. Like exactly what is going on? Probably someone talking about Moonwake beer, right?
Yes.
Tell us, Sarah.
Yeah, so or like breweries in Leith or Moonwake?
Both as well. Like if you can help us,
Yeah, well, like so I think we're gonna be the 5th or 6th brewery in Leith. I could be wrong. But yeah, we started construction like a year ago, pretty much like last January, and then I joined this January. So me and my colleague Wes, the sales manager, we were brought on first by our founders and directors to join them on this journey. And they've just been slaving away, getting everything up and running for us. And they're hopefully going to be brewing some beer really, really soon. And they're focusing on like precision and they're balanced, basically keeping it simple but doing it well, especially for the core range. But they're looking forward to getting more innovative and experimental as we go on. But yeah, we're coming in and we're going to hit the ground running. So
this is the best plan. You have the experience, and you also said, and the directors and the founders of the brewery that
Yeah.
are having some big experiences in the brewing scene as well, right?
Yeah. So they brewed for years, either like at their previous brewery, XT Brewing in Herefordshire. Before that, they dabbled at Sandbrooks, and before that, Vinny, our head brewer, helped start Garage Beer Co. in Barcelona. So they've like experienced themselves in like different countries, different experiences. Finn, our other director, he worked a lot in hospitality before coming back to brewing because obviously that was where he belonged. But he brings that chatty personality to the company as well.
Absolutely.
So, and yeah, we're just looking forward to creating a sort of creative and open space for people to come and enjoy good beer. Like our location is right by the shore in Leith, so it's going to be perfect for when it brightens up in the summer. We can hopefully open a tap room, and we might only just be coming in with like 4 beers, but they're gonna be amazing. You know, keep that like lockdown theme of lagers and pale and sessionable beers, but having really good quality ones.
Yeah, that again is a dream. Like if someone isn't sure, someone that does live in London isn't sure, then there are good reasons sometimes to leave London and to jump in such a project. You are the living proof. We can do it.
Yeah.
Even
No,
do it
I was
well.
I was kind of looking for an excuse to leave London after lockdown.
Tell us about that. It's interesting. Why did you feel like that? I mean, if they say too personal, don't worry about it. But generally,
No. Well, generally, like living in London as a freelancer, I was lucky that my parents lived in London because as a freelancer, you sometimes you make lots of money and sometimes you don't make any money. So I was able to have that fallback to live with them. But eventually you get to a point where that becomes too much. And I think I knew that um, living somewhere else more affordable could mean that I could live my life.
yeah,
And I was thinking about just moving my freelance, like just moving myself and keeping with my freelancing and going back to London whenever, because I was lucky enough to have that option.
yeah.
And then I came across the job advert and I was like, who are these guys? And then I chatted to them and they've got some great ideas and great plans for the future. And I was on board. And on January, I made the move up and joined them here. So hopefully we're gonna now smash it together. So
And you said something interesting before when we had a brief chat. You were saying
yeah,
you jump into this adventure, and there were some timings that unfortunately had to push,
yeah,
down. And so you're gonna start to have the kit and to brew probably just before the summer, as you said. So the question then probably someone will ask is, what does a marketing and communication person in a new city and for a new brewery, which is still getting there and developing all
yeah.
the beautiful ideas? How is your daily routine at the moment?
Yeah, so the actual brew kit is on a boat as we speak, from the factory to here. And we're hoping it will be installed in April. And we're hoping to have beers ready for you all in May and June. This is like 2 or 3 months further back than planned. So I've tried to keep myself very busy. Basically building the social media following and presence, working with our designer to create mock-ups of the beers, taking our brewers' ideas and plans and creating something tangible we can show people and say, this is what we're going to be doing. And also just using that online space to sort of say, here we are, this is what we're about. And then working with my colleague to sort of start helping him get out to accounts when and where he can.
Yeah.
And we've been just planning, just lots and lots of planning, really. So we've got some wicked merch designs and stuff coming out at some point, but at least we use this time that we have now to do those things like planning merch and writing informative blog posts for, like, we really want to educate people about beer. So it's sort of doing lots of writing and things, but keeping it all back for now, and sharing it with everybody when the time is right. And luckily we get to plan the tap room as well. And I don't know, just planning a tap room opening from scratch is just always really fun.
Yeah.
You get to bicker about how it's going to look and how it's going to be, and it's great.
When you give a great project in the right hands, especially if it's a tap room, especially if there is a lot of space, or if it's in a key area where people are going to rely to create a community around it, that's probably one of the most, rewarding projects you can work on. So you must feel
I'm really looking forward to having that tap room open, and not just for myself getting involved in the community rather than sitting in my flat, but to get the brewery involved in the local community as well, and welcome our neighbours in Leith and from further afield.
Yeah.
Like, I also can't wait to have everybody from London come up and stay as well.
As I said, I came a couple of times. I found an incredible city, like the vibe, the energy, the way that it looks, the different levels. Sometimes you see a street, but then it's also below you, and you feel like there is things happening everywhere, and a beautiful space. Then I hope you're going to have a chance to visit, which is the Hanging Bat. Good pub.
Yeah.
Just say it, put it out. Just
I'll
say
put it first on my list.
Cool, lovely.
But I remember when I came up, I think it must have been a year or two ago, I came up just for a visit to see a friend that lived here, and I walked along the shore, and I was like, this is like something out of a European city like Copenhagen or even Belgium. And I was like, it's stunning, it's beautiful. This would be a great place for a brewery. Little did I know there was one being built around the corner.
There we go.
So I don't know, it all seems like, even our founders have said that, like, the way everything worked with, like, finding the location and finding the team, it all just really fell together, like, really naturally, and just, without sounding cheesy, like, meant to be. But I don't know, it just makes you feel really good and positive about a project, especially when there are delays and you're getting a bit sad that you can't hang out with everybody. It's nice to think of that backstory.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned before, then probably you're going to be lucky to create kegs with the first batches of the beers that you're going to make, and hopefully these kegs are going to go straight to the pub, which is brilliant. That's
the silver lining of everything, is that hopefully we'll have beer when the pubs are open again, so that it's pushing us ahead to be really positive about how it's going to be, and that we might be able to drink our beer on tap in another pub really, really soon. As much as, like, yes, small pack is the way, and and like, there's going to be an online shop and we can get it to everybody. But it's great to think that we could sit in a beer garden all together and drink a pint of it like it should be.
Talking about the cans, your one, the cans that I see, in the Moonwake social media channels are incredible. Like, well done to the designer, well done to you, well done to the team. You can see this bright splash of colors, which are also like driving you into this kind of well coordinated, and I think in the same time interesting concept behind as well. Like, sometimes you see cans which are really flashy, really full of details. And then I may don't need that every time I'm having a beer. I sometimes just want to rely to colors.
Yeah.
And Moonwake works with that.
The great thing about this design, so like the word Moonwake means the moon's reflection on water. So that circle with the line through it is like the moon and the reflection. And with the opposite colors, we can have different colors for every beer, and we can be really recognizable with that. Like you're going to look on the shelf and you're going to know it's a Moonwake beer from a mile off because it's so simple but so effective.
Yeah.
So our designer Greg Peary, just name drop it, he's done a great job, and we can use that across all our beers now, and like it's a template that we can get more creative with what's inside. But also with specials and things, we do think like we can take out that bottom color and put in some artwork from a local artist or a beer artist or something like that. Like we've got that flexibility and it'll still be really recognizable. So we've still left room for our creativity to continue to grow into them. But for that core range, we just wanted something really like slick and that they'd look really good together. As a little set. So especially to introduce ourselves to everybody, being brand new.
I felt from day one, I've been having a look at how you're doing things, and I always admired your organization, which is a reflection. There is a reflection of it in all of the projects that you're curating, female girls as well, which I hope you're gonna tell us a bit more shortly, and the organization side, the way that you are capable to collect your ideas and making them realistic, and also having a decent, timeline and good idea. Like I see the projection that you have in front of things, and this is really, really helpful. And it's a clear sign that your background it comes from marketing, from branding, for communication in general. Like, how important is that branding, that communication, and that marketing when you are starting, or generally when you're running a brewery, in your opinion?
I think it's incredibly important. Like there have been breweries and like projects that I've come into when obviously, like most of the time I come in and the brand already exists. But I always just look to how can it be made better? And usually it comes down to how can you make it more, not repetitive, but more like consistent.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, using certain emojis with your brand or using certain emojis with your beer. Like, yeah, that might sound really, I don't know, like flippant or whatever, but like doing that means as people are scrolling through without even reading, or they've seen your logo, they've seen that emoji, they probably, if they know you, they probably already know what you're talking about, and they're thinking, oh, that beer's out again, I'll go and get it. And I don't know, maybe I'm just an absolute control freak type A person, and it seems to work. But yeah, I love a plan, and I love organizing projects, sometimes more than actually doing the project. So it naturally happens that I enjoy that side of things.
Again, you see the background of Digital Beer Streams today, right? So it's a plethora of different colors placed with an order, which is a not order. And I know if it was going to be on your hands, it may have a bit of, a kind of organic, balance. But again, this is the beauty of jumping in a tooth court marketing, communication, and social media kind of an approach to things. And honestly, if you are OCD, I love your OCD. Never lose it, because that's what makes it different.
I don't know, maybe. But that's the thing. Whenever I see those colors in your background, I know it's you. And that's what you want. That's what you want.
Exactly.
I always just think, I think it was something said by like somebody, one of my bosses when I worked in pubs, and it was just keep it simple, do it well.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
don't faff around, and that was like the best craft beer pub I ever worked in. So they obviously know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I took that bit with me and took it away with me. So
Absolutely.
that's what I'll do.
There are a few questions as well that I want to ask you, and one is definitely, we are on the 24th of March. We had a full month of, and we're still having a full month of celebration to women within the industry, and you're one of them, and you've been active, you've been doing a lot of your projects, and generically speaking, given your or your experience in different fields, in the hospitality, in the brewing scene, in the beer scene, how do you feel at what stage we are right now? Is there enough respect for women within the industry? Can we do better? What is the situation right now?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's a lot better than it used to be, but there's still a long way to go. And I think also craft beer in itself, like within beer, is such a niche. And in craft beer, most of the time, everyone's really welcoming and really accepting, and you make loads of friends. Like when I first got into beer, I literally took myself off to London Craft Beer Festival as a volunteer. I didn't know anybody. But I was working at the pub chain at the time. And once I got there, I recognized some guys from a brewery that they were my sales rep for that pub chain. So I was like, hey, and then they introduced me to other people. And then I partied the night away with them after volunteering all day. And it's just like, in what other world could you rock up somewhere completely on your own?
Yeah.
Recognize one person that you've met a handful of times and walk away with, like, I still know those people. I still talk to those people all the time. And like a few of them were women as well. Like women that helped me like get into this. Katie Arabella and Sarah from Orbit. And Melissa Cole as well. And it's just like, when she was in the industry, she was the only woman in beer, like for a long time, and like she's paved the way for a lot of us. And it was great to have them help me, and hopefully now I can be in the position to help other people. But I do think as a whole, there are still nitpicky things. It's more the everyday stuff than the like big incidents are probably quite rare, but it's the more everyday stuff, like offering you a half, or offering at GBF it'd be the stemmed glass instead of the pint glass, or something like that. Or when I was working behind the bar, they'd be chatting, they'd say, no, I want his opinion. And he was the guy on a trial shift with me. And he was like, I don't know, I think you should ask her. So it's just, I still think it's more a general societal thing. And I think it is getting better with time. And I think the more breweries and pubs and venues make themselves open and embracing places for everybody, and look after those that could be feeling vulnerable, make a special effort to be that for them, and to be that space where they can feel comfortable, even if they are the only something in a room. And I think if we all do that, it'll eventually get better. But I do think craft beer generally, it's very welcoming, and there's a few dicks, but they get found out pretty soon, and we put a stop to it.
The Twitter controlling panel and all the very helpful tools are making clear players that are not playing by the rules. So I've been noticing this happening a few times, and it's always been helpful to decide where to spend your money, how to who consider the right people and who consider not right people. So absolutely fine. I get in touch with I got in touch, and I had in here interviewing several very smart and brave women. You're definitely one of them, and I've been reading your contents and checking what you're doing, and this having always like a clear idea about I need to learn many things. I'm gonna just shut up, sitting here, listening what the people have to say. People that have more experience than me, people that have a wider viewing than I do, and then I make and start to talk. But generally speaking, again, this is like just a liquid, right? We go into pubs because we want to meet the people. Why we do believe so much that we can make the difference for people which are inside the industry and for the people that may be approaching the industry for the first time. Why you think it's like that? Are we not believe that we are too important and too big, or we can really make a difference, in your opinion, Sarah?
Well, I think, especially being in the UK, the pub and those venues and this liquid go a long way to being like the heart of a community, whether it's you meeting up with your friends or you're in a place where it's a local pub and you walk in and you know everyone and you've known everyone there for years. It's like, or you can walk in. The great thing that we should be striving for is that you walk into a bottle shop or a bar, you could walk in on your own in a city you don't know before, and you can be made to feel at home. And that can actually lead to making friends or contacts, or just having a nice evening and feeling good. And I think that's the power that breweries and venues and drinks companies have. And I think that's really important. And it's really weird to think that a liquid can have that power, but I think it does. Or more the venue, but everything.
This is what my friends which aren't within the industry are telling me. Like, there is such an interest about people saying, do you really have a job inside that ecosystem, but you're not working in a bar, you're not serving the liquid? So you are one of the consumer, you are one of the people that are talking to the consumer, but in the same time, you still having this kind of attachment to the principles of the bar and the pub. And this is reattaching to the previous question that I asked you. If you're a freelancer, graphic designer, communicator, marketer, whatever you want to say, what is the best way to get in touch with these people, these breweries, these pubs, these bottle shops? Like, what are you actually doing to stay in touch with them?
Yeah, well, when I started, what I did, I just rocked up to beer festivals on my own and made friends, or like events or whatever. Or even if I was just working in a pub on my laptop, sometimes I'd end up, and obviously at the moment you can't do that. So it made it really hard. And like, I was lucky that I'd already laid that groundwork that meant I still got work during lockdown.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, even as marketing, it's about your personal brand, and it's like and you don't need to think too much about that. You just put yourself out there on social media and stuff so that people know what you're doing, they know what you're up to, but they also know what you're about and like what your feelings are. And I don't know, this year I've kind of taken a step back from social media because spending 8 hours a day on a laptop for work is enough. I don't want to then post on my own Instagram like, oh, I've been up to nothing. Okay. So I'm hoping that like I can get I can find some of the fun in my own personal social media again. Now I'm not doing it as a job, but I think anyone in marketing and social media can feel that way. But I think if you're like looking to get into it and things like that, definitely just put yourself out there um, on social media and in groups. And when you can get out and about, do. I definitely like, even if it feels like I'm definitely one that gets imposter syndrome, but if you've done something good, share it with people, tell people that you've done something good and like show them what you're capable of and how you could help them. I don't even think I was necessarily the best at it, but because I didn't really enjoy doing it. But yeah, I think it definitely helps, especially as a freelancer. And I think even if you run a brewery, your own personal social media can go a long way to, you might share things on there that you wouldn't share on the work one, but you can still show people who you are and what you can bring to the craft beer world, and the scene to other people within it or people wanting to get into it.
Yeah.
And it can show how diverse it is because a lot of people didn't get into it. Like you kind of fall into it. You never quite, and most of the people I know anyway, like there's not a lot of people that have gone, I want to work in beer at like a ripe young age. So it's always a meandering route that there's usually other people have other stories to tell about what they've done before and how that brings something good to the industry.
Yeah, like I've been noticing dealing into the beer industry with communication in general. It's an interesting thing because you do have people that have a very extensive experience, and I've noticed it into the Guild of the British Beer Writers, and I'm sure you felt the same. You are almost feel protected by some of the heroes that made this industry being suitable for communicators and
Yeah.
people working in marketing for us before then we even joined them. So I absolutely totally get the communitarian spirit, but also the rules of it. And in a way, talking about beer and talking to customers has to be such a fine line between do not ask consumers to drink for the sake of doing it, but actually enjoying the act of doing it
Yeah.
properly.
I think that's a great thing about like craft beer is that it doesn't need to be about just consumption. It's about quality and community. I think mainly. And I think that's something that, you can still enjoy a well-made, well-balanced beer without having to get drunk. And I think that's again a very UK centric thing. In Belgium, that's always been the way. And it's like after working with Belgians really closely over the last few years, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get drunk in front of them again, aren't I? And it's just like, oh yeah. And I'm just like, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be savoring it more. But maybe it's in the DNA to a certain point. But I do think that's another thing in the culture that, like, especially with the younger generation coming up, like people are focusing more on like the quality and the moderation.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just healthier for all of us.
I think for a combination of reasons. Firstly, the very tough day, an intense day of full of combinations and elements.
Yeah.
And also 8.5% double IPA, I almost drove a bit out what I normally ask to guests. But I know I could ask you all of these questions, so I really wanted to jump on it. But the last question, which is normally the one that I'm asking every guest, it really gives a bit of idea about what is your vision for the future. And the question is normally, how do you see the future of our industry? Digital, not digital, different beer habits, different drinking habits?
Yeah, I like to think there'll be a place for these digital events as well, because I don't think a lot of us are still not going to want to like travel very far, or I think it's going to be a bit more subdued going back into the world, and it'll be like, is this for real this time, or are we going to get locked back in again? So I think there'll still be a place for it, but I think people are really looking forward to safely and out, especially with the summer coming again, outdoors. It should be really fun. It should invigorate people. But I think there'll be a place for both. Um, Hopefully it won't all go back digital again. I'm not up for that. But yeah, and with the industry as well, I hope that the like drinking really well made like 4 or 5% beers thing will continue, because I'm now really into that. I'm a complete like lockdown stereotype for drinking those sessionable beers. Apart from, yeah, today we're on Brett's and double IPAs, but you know,
Celebration.
sometimes you need some Brett. It's just what happens. But yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see how these things develop. And I'm definitely one for like, if we're having events again, I'll be finding those table beers and things to keep me going on a level all day.
All you
It's
have
part
to
of
do
the
is
job.
just making sure you have a place, you're making sure you have a favorite line, and you're gonna see me add to, you know, Edinburgh, Scotland, and whatever you want to go for
Absolutely.
as soon as I can.
Anytime,
Thank you.
please.
I knew it would have been fantastic. I just now have the proof that I really want to meet you and drink with you as soon as possible. And you know, again,
My job.
this has been a lovely chat, and I can't wait to have you have a chat with you again. And
yeah,
if we can wish everyone that watching us right now a beautiful rest of the evening and a fantastic rest of the week.
absolutely. Yeah, enjoy it, guys. And hopefully you can all come up to Edinburgh really soon, or I might be back in London for Moonwake Beer as well. You never know. So
Point to the Southampton Arms, please. Yeah, okay, cool, brilliant. Southampton Arms or the Harp or wherever you want to go. Just
yeah.
decide.
Oh, the list is long. The list is long.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for being with me tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Take care.
Bye.